This episode of Brown Girl Guilt is sponsored by Dental Zone. Dental Zone's motto is commitment, consistency, and confidence. And let's be real, we could all use a little more of that around here. Dr. Erwin Patti is an active member of the BC Dental Association, and he focuses his work on dental fillings, crowns, root canals, tooth removal, and most importantly, preventative care. And between me and you, I've been searching for a new dentist closer to home. And with his brand new clinic right on 152nd and 66th, I think I've found my match. Let Dental Zone take care of you, and I promise you'll never look back. Check out their website, dentalzone.ca, or look them up on Instagram at dentalzone group. And be sure to tell them that your girl Harpo sent you. Hi friends, it's your girl Harpo. How much did you guys miss me saying that, eh? It's season 2. Oh my gosh, season 2, episode 1. I cannot believe that we're back into a brand new season of Brown Girl Guilt. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you have, and if you're new here, welcome. I think you're going to like it. So, this first episode of season 2 is special, and I think the entire season is going to be special. This entire season, I'm going to give you guys a chance to meet some of the most incredible men in my life who have added exponential value into my life and have taught me all these wonderful, beautiful lessons. And I can't wait to share those beautiful, wonderful lessons with all of you. Now, the first episode of season 1 was with me, Madre. And so the first episode of season 2 has to be with I don't know what the equivalent of Madre is for my Poppa, so I'm just going to say my daddy G. So this episode is with my dad. I'm so excited to give you guys a chance to meet my dad. So, Babul tere mehla vichon, teri lado pradesan hoi. Every time I hear this line from the uber famous song Madhaniya, I cry. And okay, maybe cry is too soft. Maybe I should say I bawl from the pit of my stomach too. I let out a deep weep. If you could be around me and you hear that song playing, just look at me. I'm already crying. Before you even know it, I'm already crying. I love my dad with my entire heart, and that song always reminds me of him. I seldom make excuses for anyone. I don't really give multiple chances. I don't really let my guard down for anyone. But for my dad, everything is forgiven. All of that, all of the above, I do for my dad. I truly do think that I have the best dad in the world, and I know everyone who has a fantastic relationship with their dad will say the same thing. They'll say, my daddy is the best daddy in the whole wide world. My dad is the best dad in the world for so many different reasons though. And, I can't really wait to share with you in this episode why that is. So when I was not even a year old, my dad had a freak accident at work. He was installing glass shower doors in new houses, and one of the pieces of glass fell on his right hand. It just slit right through. I mean, it's a miracle that he was able to keep his hand. But after the accident, he was off work for a really long time, which was so great for me because it meant my primary caretaker for the first year or so of my life was actually my dad. And we were so close, I slept on his stomach. Like I only slept on his stomach. He couldn't necessarily put me on the bed or in the crib or whatever. And I would shriek if I had to sleep anywhere else. And, safe to say that as a baby, my dad was my entire world. And it was so important for a daughter like me to have a father like mine growing up. I've needed a lot of space because let's be real, I'm someone who takes up a lot of space, right? No secrets there. And never in my house, in my upbringing, or in my relationship with my dad, was that space ever stifled. And nor was my voice. I was always given a seat at the table. If I was with my dad in a group of uncles and I had something I really wanted to say, whether it was, just an opinion I wanted to add or a thought that I had, or just I wanted to contribute to the conversation, my dad always made room for it. I was never put down. I was never told to shut up. I was never shamed for having the kind of mind that I do. I was never told after the fact that when there's a group of bande, you're not supposed to talk or don't get too friendly. I was never told any of those things. And I was never, ever shamed, like I said, for the mind that I have or the personality that I do, right? Or the voice and ambition and dreams that I do. If I am the fire that I am today, right? I always say this. If I am the fire that I am today, it's because my dad has always fanned my flames. And I'm going to be straight up. It's not like my dad was overt or explicit about it ever. But he's never said to my face that he's proud of me. but I know he says it to others. And he'll never express outward emotion towards me or shower me with affection, but I know he's got all this love for me in his entire heart, So he's pretty much like all dads in that case, like never going to show emotion, never going to let his guard down, never going to let you know that, hey, yo, I like you. That's my kid. I remember the first time I ever got a haircut, girls on the playground asked me, your dad let you get your hair? And I was so surprised and I was so confused. Like, sis, the fuck you mean my dad let me? Was I supposed to ask him? Like, I didn't know I had to seek permission from my bapu before I got front bangs. But the more I grew up, the more I realized not everyone had a dad like mine. Some girls did have to ask their dad for every little modification to their bodies. Some girls were not friends with their dads like I was. And for them, it was a very transactional relationship. Now, most of us have this very stereotypical traditional idea of a Punjabi father-daughter relationship. I mean, most of us picture Simran's dad in DDLJ, right? A tough, hard-to-read father, strict guy with boundaries, which fair. Some Punjabi dads can be tough. Sometimes your dad's middle name may as well be discipline. But guys, Simran's dad in DDLJ might have been a hard ass, but he got soft anytime it came to his daughter. He let her go to Europe, even though we all thought there was no chance in hell. And he did say, "Ja, Simran, ja," when Raj was dipping on the train. So I think when it comes to their daughters, sometimes Punjabi dads can turn into softies. And so while, yes, I am friends with my dad and I probably tell him more secrets about my life than my mom, I haven't always given him the recognition and respect that he deserved. I'm just going to say that straight up. When I was 16, I hated him for a year because he made me tell him where I was going all the time. Like every time I stepped out of the house, I had to text him or call him. He needed to know where I was going, who I was going with, what time I was going to be home, even if it was just to honestly go to save on foods. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that was my punishment for having lied to him about a karaoke party in grade 9. I didn't want him to know what I was doing, who I was with. I lied to him. And if I know anything about my dad now as a 24-year-old, it's that he's okay with most things. But his philosophy is just that he doesn't want you to lie to him and he doesn't want to hear from anybody else. So me lying to him about that karaoke party hit him pretty hard. For a long time also, I was my mom's best friend, and we really didn't have boundaries in that relationship. I've talked about that before, and we're working on that. But anytime she was frustrated with my dad, she confided in me. And when that used to happen, it became really difficult for me to differentiate between him as a husband to my mother and him as a father to me. I mean, and this has only been exasperated as I now see him being a father to my brother. Sometimes whatever's happening, whatever the dynamic is in their relationship, when I find out about it, it shifts my perception of my dad as well. It took a long time, a letter to him in therapy that he'll never read, and my own unlearning for me to see my dad as a superstar dad that he truly is. And I'm excited though, because in this episode, for the first time ever, I get to ask him his secret formula for being a father to an empire like Harpo, this crazy cutie girl. I get to ask him how, in having a daughter like me, where he's had to make sacrifices, what he's struggled with, and how he's changed as a man. I also take some space, because that's what I do best. And I ask him what he wishes his kids knew about his journey with fatherhood. And before I go into this episode, I just want to preface that I completely understand that not everyone has a relationship like this with their dads. And if you're in a place where, you have an absent dad, you have a dad that doesn't understand you, and you do have that transactional relationship, like I mentioned earlier, I'm holding space for you. I'm very cognizant in recording this episode that, perhaps my relationship with my dad is an anomaly, and that, you might not necessarily have this kind of a dynamic with your dad. But again, I'm holding space for you. I'm sending you love, and I'm hoping that, you've been able to find somewhere in your heart, a way to parent a part of you that needed to be parented by your father. Okay, so Dad, first and foremost, you're a pretty private person. We don't even know how you're feeling most of the time. That's how private you are. How does it feel that I've forced you to be on this podcast with me and talk about your feelings? You've literally resisted this for weeks and resisted it even now.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Not good.
Why not?
Because I don't like to talk, personal information. Yeah.
Talk about your feelings?
Yeah.
And I'm forcing you to get out of your comfort zone. That should be a good thing.
Why?
It should be. I don't know. I think it's just interesting. I think the reason that I wanted to have Mom on the podcast before and why I want to have you on is because we always have conversations with other people, or like we ask other people questions and we ask them about their life stories, but seldom do we ever ask our parents. And I think that we have role models and we have our own heroes in our own houses. So that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast as the first guest for this season.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be very open. Okay, so I'm a lot as a Punjabi daughter, okay? As a Punjabi father, you've had to make a lot of adjustments, and something that you always say, right? Like you say these things and now you're gonna laugh even that I'm saying them in the podcast episode, but you always say things like, oh, I never thought that I would have a daughter who would like go to a liquor store or like drink gin and tonic on the kitchen island on Fridays. What in having a daughter like me, what are some sacrifices that you've had to make?
Not the sacrifices, but as a Indian born and raised, as in our culture, it's not looked at as a good thing that daughters are going to liquor stores.
Yeah. But I mean, aside from that, that's just one example, right? There are a lot of things that you had to adjust, right? I think that you're a lot cooler. You're a lot like more laid back. And, you and I have a very friendly relationship. That's not typically the case for a father-daughter relationship. So is that something that you've done intentionally, or that's just something did you always know you were going to be this kind of a father? Like, where did that come from?
Not really. I think when you get older and more mature, then you start realizing, you have to be friends with the kids.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, maybe I learned from my experience, maybe, or just looking at other families.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially right now, right? Like when we're recording this episode, there's a lot happening in our community and people are blaming the parents a lot, right? People are saying that it's the parents' fault. They're the ones who don't know where their kids are. And even in an interview that I did with an ethnic station, I was saying that too, that the parents have to be friends with their kids. And I think you've always done that. You've always, told me that I want to be your friend. We have to be friends if we want to have trust between us.
I think that's true, actually. You need to know where your kids are. As I used to be when you guys were younger. If you guys were out with even your friends, I always wanted to know where you are when you're coming home. As you probably remember, if you guys are late out, it's still even 1 a.m. I will call to get the location where you guys are and need to know when you guys are going to be home. Once you are at home, then I could go to sleep for 3 hours and get up and go to work.
Yeah.
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
As a parent, you just need to know where your kids are, what they're doing. You don't have to be very strict about that. You can be friend, and also they need to respect you as a parent. Yeah.
Yeah, I always think of you as like a very a man of principles, right? Like you've always said that you can tell me anything. Like I can tell you where I'm going, who I'm going with. Even when I was like 19, I said to you very honestly, I said, Dad, people aren't having birthday parties in Boston Pizza anymore. People are having parties in other places that are 19 plus and they do have liquor there. And I remember, you've always said to me, like, don't lie to me about where you're going. Tell me honestly. But if you lie to me and I find it from someone else, or I find out afterwards that you lied to me, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you're a very man of principles in that way.
Well, as I said, if as a parent you can be friend with the kids, I think it's more security for even the kids. As a parent, like if you as you said, well, I said this to you and your brother, like I need to know what you guys are doing, where you are, who you with. And I even said to Jess Kira, still I don't think anybody should be drinking under the age, but kids do these kind of stuff. And I told him, if you ever want to taste anything, beer, wine, liquor, let me know. I'll pour the drink for you, right?
Yeah.
I think you just need to be friend with the kid, and if they want to do that kind of stuff, they're going to do it anyway. So it's better to train your kids or teach your kids at home than learning wrong information from somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't actually put this on the list of questions when I sent the questions to you because yes, I gave my dad questions beforehand because he was refusing for so many weeks to record this episode with me. But you know something some of my older cousins say is because you're their mama, most of them, you're mama to them. They say to me, they say, Mama's so different, Harpo. Like, wow, like he's different. Even when I tell them, about our relationship, or when I tell them about, or they know who I am as a person, they're very surprised that you give me this quote unquote freedom. Why did they think that you're so different? Like, were you different before? Did a change happen somewhere in between in your parenting, or how did that happen? Why do they say that?
You know what I think? Yeah, even I know that. Yeah, while growing up in India, I was always kind of man of the family. Even though I was I have four older sisters, and I was kind of always protecting them, even though I was younger. And yeah, I used to be, I used to be a lot different than now. I was kind of, I don't know how to say, I was
Stricter, like.
strict, more rude with people, just to show them, like, maybe the jungle out there, you have to be, you have to show everybody that you're a big tough guy, right? Nobody's gonna mess around with you. You're protecting your family. So once you move into Canada, I think it's a different animal. You're working jobs and trying to maintain your lifestyle, raise kids. And as I said, once you grow older, you learn a lot from the experience. Um, Yeah, I do see, opposite of myself now than when I was younger.
Yeah, I think there's a softer side to you now.
Yeah.
Right. I don't remember the other hard side as much because I was a kid. But I'm actually happy. I'm glad that I didn't know that side of you because I probably wouldn't have liked you very much if you were that.
Yeah, most people don't like me much
Most
anyway.
people don't, but I think it's also because they had that older perception of you. They haven't met this softer version of you, I think, is what I feel.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. If I go back to that example of, like you saying, I never thought that my daughter would blah, blah, blah. What's most interesting to me is that, you've always expressed your own feelings and opinions, right? Whether it is the drinking or like I have 11 tattoos or even my career choice. Sometimes you say, right, like judge the job, blah, blah. You've always been vocal about how you don't understand me, right? But that's never really compelled you to change me. You've never tried to force and to change me. Like you've never tried to make me fit into a box of your own feelings and ideas, right? You've never said like no drinking, no dating, no tattoos, go get a 9 to 5 job. Why is that?
Well, I think you have to change with the time, right? I mean, especially kids born here in Canada or Western culture. If you push them too much, or if you're too strict with them, things can go sideways, right? I mean, yeah, as a Punjabi father, I could be really strict like a typical Punjabi father, but I don't know. Just try to be friend or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the upper hand is that even though, you know what the difference is? I think that, yes, your kids are maybe doing things that you never thought you would be okay with or your kids would be doing, but they're doing it all in front of you and you know your kids. You know what I mean? You can confidently stand outside somewhere in front of 4 people and you can confidently say that you know your kids.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
the upper hand. I think that's the key. And I think that's where you've gained as from being this kind of parent, because you can confidently say, I know my parents. We hear about kids all the time and they say, "Sanu to pata hi nahi sega," right?
Well, yeah, that could be, or sometimes they do ignore, or kids don't listen. You know, as a parent, you have to set the limit and the rules
Mm-hmm.
because you, as a let's say homeowner or parent or provider, you need to set the limits. And even if I don't know if it's good to compare. Even let's say our dog Jackson, if you don't set limits with him, if you don't follow up with that, even he's gonna not gonna
Yeah.
follow your commands.
Right.
So yeah, as a parent, you love your kids, you want to provide the best for them, but you need to set your limits to tell them what you expect from them. Well, should not have too much expectation anyway, but just still tell them just basic rules of the home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't, then they're gonna learn it from somewhere else or follow someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want most people listening to know that, like, I think most people have a perception of a strong woman when they, like, I'm a very loud, outspoken, strong woman that, that she does whatever she wants and she doesn't listen to anyone. I don't think that's the case. I feel like I've always honored everything that you've wanted, right? I feel like genuinely I have been a good kid, a good daughter. I don't ever go against anything that you say. I think it's more of a mutual, reciprocal conversation and relationship. But I think that that's something that you set up, right?
Yeah.
You set that up. If it wasn't that, then it would have been that. Then it would have been me rebelling and all this kind of stuff. But I think it started from you. You planted that seed when I was young.
Yeah.
You're also a father to a son. And I think, in my personal opinion, that there is a stark difference between the father that you are to me and the father you are to him. What is that difference?
You think I'm more strict with him?
I don't know. I think that there is a way, like a different kind of love and softness between us. And with him, I think you're a lot stricter on him. You're like, you understand me more, I think.
Well, this could be because, like, I mean, whatever is going around us, let's say all that gang wars. Yeah, let's say when you were in high school, I was never worried.
Right.
But the day he went to high school, I was more worried for him. And most parents, I think, will be opposite. They will be more worried for their daughters.
Yeah.
Instead of their sons, because the nature or the teachings I taught him, just to not to back down from anything. If you believe you are right, don't back down, or you need to be a little tougher out there, which he is. It shows on his soccer games. Everybody, all the other parents would love it, and they will say, "Yeah, I wish my son was like that." Yeah, I mean, maybe, I may be a little sticker for him because he's still young. He, like, maybe another year, 2 year, I will be more softer for him once he start, taking responsibilities. Yeah, but he's still young, right?
Right.
So then, because there's a gap, different age difference between you guys, right? I mean, yeah, you're more mature now, but he's mature for his age too, but it's still kid, I mean, it's like those, stray dogs, right? If you don't control them, yeah, he's gonna go bite someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of dog metaphors in this episode. But I think you were like this with me too when I was his age. I think he doesn't know that. He doesn't see that because he was like 8 when I was his age. But when I was 16, do you remember one time I went to that karaoke party and you were like, okay, but dad used to do this all the time. He'd be like, okay, send me the address. I will come by. And I was like, no, I don't want you to come by. And then I went to this karaoke party and I never texted you the address because I knew you weren't going to come, but just I wasn't doing anything wrong, but the kids around me were doing things that might have been wrong in your mind for 16-year-olds to be doing, right? They were drinking, there was, all this kind of stuff there. And I never texted you the address. And I got in so much trouble from that day on. From that day on, I had to tell you everywhere I was going, whether I was going to the grocery store, whether I was going out with my friend to the movies, whether I was going to the mall with my cousin. I had to tell you everything. When I was leaving and when I was getting into the house, I had to tell you. And I think that was a level of strictness. I don't think it was a level of strictness now as a 24-year-old. I think now when I look back as a 24-year-old, I realize like I betrayed your trust. You asked me to do one simple thing. I didn't do it. And that was the consequence. I feel like Jaskita thinks that I have it easy, but he doesn't know these kinds of things about our relationship too, is that dad was strict with me at his age too.
Well, I think it's the trust thing too, right? You need to build the trust.
Yeah.
If you, as a kid, you want your parents to trust you, and you need to trust your parents too. right? You need to tell them, like just the thing you just brought up, karaoke thing.
Yeah.
So you did not trust me that time, right?
Yeah.
You were not confident to give me the address. Let's say, what if I showed up there? What was my main concern?
Your child's safety.
Yes. So being more cautious as a parent, kids should not take as a their privacy breach or whatever, but it's more concerned. Parents are more concerned. What do you think? Why I was more concerned? Or, as I said, I was up until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. when you guys were out. Like, it was more kind of worry or concern for the kids,
Yeah.
other than anything else, right? Because parents, like, as a parent, if you just have half a bottle, drink and just go to sleep, and you don't know where your kids are, I think then you cannot blame your kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because even when we moved into Canada 30 years ago, and I noticed even that time, like, I was single, young, and we were going out, and I saw that time kids sneaking out of their windows of their homes, right?
Yeah.
And parents don't even know where they were going, right? Who is with them,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so maybe my that experience, is also made me a little more stricter than, kids do this kind of stuff, which I knew 30 years ago before I got married.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to do that.
Yeah. Now we have a relationship where we don't even have to sneak out. We can. I think now it's like, if it is 10, 11 o'clock and you're in your bed and you hear the alarm beeping and I've gone out somewhere, I don't usually do that. But if I have done that, I know that our relationship is as such that I don't need to sneak out. I can just walk through the front door. And even if I'm going for, let's say I'm going to go get a dessert, or I'm going to go meet someone, or what, if my friend needs me, I don't have to sneak out. And you can trust that it's okay. My kid's just going out. I know they're going to be back soon and they're not stupid.
Yeah.
Right? Last question I want to ask you, and I want you to be genuinely honest in this, okay? Fully honest. This is your chance. Don't ever say I never asked you this. What do you wish both your kids knew about your journey with fatherhood?
I think we discuss almost everything. I don't know what else is there which I need to tell you guys. Or
and mind you, this is your experience with fatherhood, right?
Yeah,
not your,
That's what I'm saying. Well, parents should make sure to tell their kids. It's not easy job for parents too, especially for immigrant parents, when you have to do maybe two jobs or both are working, to get better life. And especially in our community, whatever is going on now, I think there's a race going on for everything from bigger house to big cars, and brand new clothes, stuff like that. If you don't tell or bring this up with your kids, where you, like, how much money let's say if someone is just working 8 to 5 and making $30 an hour, or whatever, less or more, they need to tell their kids, right? Maybe your friend has a $2,000 purse or whatever, but they cannot afford, right? You need to discuss it with your kids, right? Stuff like that. If you don't, then they're gonna realize that, my friends have it, why can't I have it? If they don't get it from home, they're gonna try to get it from somewhere else. Whatever is happening these days, I think this is the result of that.
Right. So I'm hearing, like, you wish that your kids knew that it hasn't been fully easy, right? Especially as an immigrant, like Punjabi immigrant father, it hasn't been super easy.
Well, yeah, it's not that easy. Even when, as you know, when you were born, after some times, I had a accident. My wrist was cut, right? And I could not work for almost 2 years. And WCB was telling me to go on a welfare, but I refused to do that, right? I, I don't want to live that life, looking at someone else for help or something. Instead, I choose to, work hard and start driving truck. Till today, it's almost 24, 25 years since my wrist was cut. I mean, it's not even 100%.
Right.
There's lots of stuff I can't even do with my right hand, right?
Mm.
If I have to put the nail in somewhere, I can't use hammer properly or lift heavy weights.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, whatever the hard stuff you went through, you need to discuss with your kids, tell them, I mean, like, it wasn't easy life.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and it won't be easy life for most of the people, but like maybe you don't discuss this with your kids or family, right?
Yeah.
Which you need to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say that to you too. Is like I would love to see more vulnerability. I know you've talked about that kind of stuff with us, but even me telling you very candidly is like I want you to be more vulnerable. I want you to be able to come home. And I think we have this idea that our dads are like really strong and they don't have any feelings. They're just like robots. They go to work, they bring the money home, and that's it, right? Like, but I think that we should be able to have more vulnerability from our dads, right? Because we would understand what you're going through. And I think about this the other day, like we were at the vet and me and Jaskita took Jackson and we called you because Jackson wasn't behaving and you had to come. And I was standing there when you came. I was like, we could literally be nothing without our dad. Like we would be, right? And I think that yes, that's a beautiful sentiment that we would be nothing without our dad. But I think that we have to bridge that gap where, we have to hear our dads being vulnerable. We have to see them. Like, I admire any time that I've seen you cry. I'm happy that I've seen you cry because I remember the first time I saw you cry, I thought it was so weird. I was like, but my dad's never supposed to cry. Like, he's not supposed to have tears. I think that's so wrong because then it isolates you guys, right? Then you guys are working. You guys are also working on your own emotions. You're doing everything on your own. And I think as people who are doing everything for their families, it's unfair that the families can't be doing that back for you guys too.
Yeah, I think it's understanding. I mean, even dads are humans,
Yeah.
right? And they have emotions, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes they don't show emotions or crying in front of, because typical Indian culture,
Yeah.
maybe I should say,
Yeah.
that if a man is crying, that he's weak. Um, Maybe that's how Jaskit got it from me. Even playing soccer a few times, he got injured, but he never wanted to be sub out. And the coach just will ask him, "Hey, you wanna get on the field?" He will say no, but I could see grind on his face and limping or still trying to run with it. Um, I think I think maybe it's normal thing for the girls to cry. Yes, everybody think, but boys being boys, I think, I don't know, some people take it wrong with that. You're teaching your kids, boys are boys. They should be tough. Yes, you have to be tough.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to fall into
Yeah.
bad things, right?
Yeah.
You can be good kid, good dad, good human, and still don't cry and still be tough.
Well,
Yeah.
being tough is something you've taught me too. You always used to say to me, I want to make you super strong. I want to make you so strong that nothing can touch you. And I think that's what's happened. I'm a pretty strong person.
Yeah, that should not be just for boys. It should
Yeah.
be for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, if you are not strong inside, let's just say about your mom, right? Little things, she will watch TV, and anything happens in the serial, she's sad, stuff like that. God forbid, and if anything happens in the family, then, like, how are you going to survive, right? You have to be strong inside.
Yeah.
You have to be able to control your emotions, your feelings sometimes, maybe not all the times. And you need to look for other, right? I mean, there's going to be good times in life, and there's going to be bad times, tough times.
Right.
And you should be able to manage both.
Yeah, balance. We want to have access to all of our emotions. Well, thank you so much, Dad, for being on this episode with me. You did fantastic. You did. I really felt like you were I mean, I'm going to tell everybody the first question I asked my dad, he looked at me and raised his hands in the air like, what kind of question is that? But I'm glad you stuck it through. I think this is going to be a very valuable conversation for people to listen to. And it's only possible because you were super vulnerable, like we just said. So thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate you. And thanks for being such a fantastic dad. My daddy, my hero.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.